Hello, greetings, and welcome from Sonoma County, California. I'm really excited to be here today to speak to you in the Green Future Conference for 2022. My topic is luxury and sustainability, and I think the reason I've been invited to talk about this for a few minutes is because my colleague Peter Young and I published a book, the first book on luxury wine marketing, just 2 years ago. And we spent about 4 years writing the book and doing research, talking to people all over the world, consumers, producers, retailers, compiling a huge database of luxury wine brands. And we learned a lot about sustainability. So I wanted to just leave you with two key points today. But before I do so, I want to just go back and go over the definition of luxury wine, because I think there is some confusion about this. So let me spend a minute on that and then we'll get into the key points. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and just pull up a few slides about what we mean by luxury. A lot of people think about luxury wine as something that's just expensive, but just because somebody slaps a $200 bottle price on a bottle of wine doesn't mean it's luxury wine. There's so much more that goes into it. So here's our book. And as I mentioned, we spent 4 years doing a lot of research and writing before this was published. And we discovered that there are really 6 attributes of luxury wine. The first is that it must be made to the very highest level of quality. And that must be done consistently for at least 20 years. So highest quality of vineyards, highest quality of winemaking, and so forth. And what we found in our interviews is that increasingly consumers, especially new ones, want the product to be sustainable, whether that's wine or a piece of clothing or a purse. They're looking for, was the product developed in an environmentally friendly way and with socially equitable practices for employees and community. And so that is actually a new piece of what we mean by luxury wine. It must come from a special place. And this would be what we call sacred vineyards. And here's a picture of Romanée-Conti Grand Cru Vineyard in Burgundy, which you may not know is actually farmed biodynamically. So this special place is very important. There's a sense of scarcity. Not too much of this wine is produced, or at least there's managed scarcity. So it's not released onto the market in a big flood, and it's hard to find. It gives the owner a sense of privilege to be able to own this special bottle. And it gives pleasure for them to share it or just to look at it in their cellar and think about the day they're going to open it. And then, of course, it does have an elevated price point and it achieves higher price at auction. If you go out and look at the numbers, there's lots of different numbers on luxury wine, but we ended up coming up with a price point. And luxury wine really starts at $100 and above. There is something called affordable luxury, which is people who are in the $50 to $99 price point and wanting to move into the luxury category. But it's really that $100 point. And then you have special occasion luxury, $200 to $499, icon wines, $500 to $999, and the dream wines, the one we all dream about owning or drinking or having a teaspoonful, $1,000 wines. So when we went and looked at all of these attributes and we looked at all the key luxury wineries around the world and we ran them through this sort of funnel, we actually only ended up with 95 true luxury players and 68 emerging players that fit all 6 of these attributes. And one big issue we discovered, and this is my first point I really want to make. I only have 2 points I'd like to make about this, but is that many of the luxury wines of the world are produced sustainably or organically or biodynamically, but they're not communicating this. If you go look at their website, it's really hard to find anything about all the great environmentally friendly practices they're doing and what they're doing for their employees. And I think this is really important because these luxury wines of the world, they're like the leaders, they're like the heroes, and they need to communicate what they're doing. Because this will help set the pace. I think maybe in the past people were worried about greenwashing, but that is passé. Right now, everybody's worried about this planet. And the more you can do to communicate what you're doing, you can inspire others to do the same. And the second issue with luxury wine, you probably knew I was going to say this, is the weight of the luxury wine bottles. Far too many luxury wine producers have heavy bottles. And if we look at the average carbon footprint of wine, this is done from a study by Dr. Richard Smart, who's probably one of the world's leading gurus on viticulture. 68% of the carbon footprint is glass bottle and transport. So that goes into the producing of the glass bottle, which is often used as it's basically carbon-based fuel for most of those plants. And then the heavier the bottle is, the more fuel you have to use to transport it. So there's definitely an opportunity there for luxury wines to lighten their bottle load. Now, keep in mind, the footprint of wine also looks at winemaking. Are you using solar panels? What are you doing to conserve energy in the winery? How are you handling your waste? And grape growing, limiting agrochemicals, limiting passes through the vineyard, considering regenerative agriculture. These are all things you can do to lower your carbon footprint. And this is an interesting study. Dominique Knoll did this. I found this out on his blog. He actually went out and weighed wine bottles. And what we discovered is that actually some of the highest priced wines in the world, some of the ones that fit our luxury categories, having that heritage and quality and scarcity, have very light wine bottles. Aubryon, 550 grams or 1.2 pounds. Petrus, 1.2 pounds. Mutonracho, 1.25. And I just had a friend measure his empty bottle of Screaming Eagle, and it was only 574 grams. But guess what? Many luxury wines, and especially wannabe luxury wineries, are using heavy bottles because they think it's what the consumer wants. Here's a couple other ones. I'm not going to name names. Unnamed Napa Cab, 2 pounds for the bottle. Unnamed Italian Red Blend, 2.86, and a really scary one from South America. Wonderful wine, didn't need to be in that heavy bottle. 3 pounds. That's just for the empty bottle. Once it's full, that wine is 4 pounds. And I've talked to retailers who say they're worried about their employees lifting a case that weighs that much. You know, there's ergonomics and safety issues for employees when you think about it. So here's a quote I got from Molly Shepard. She's a sustainability manager at Spotswood. And there's actually a lot of wineries now who are working on reducing the weight of their bottles. And look at this quote. They reduced their Napa Cab from 798 grams to 564 grams, or a 30% reduction. And this resulted in an emissions rate of 25 metric tons of carbon out of a total of 430. So this is significant. And this is another leadership point that luxury wineries around the world can take to start communicating all the good things that they're doing and how they are reducing their bottle weight. And more of them need to reduce their bottle weight. So that's my call to action. Communicate all the great efforts you're doing to produce sustainable wines, environmentally friendly, socially equitable, if you're doing organic, if you're doing, I'm not even saying you need to be certified. It's nice to be certified. Consumers understand that. But if you're not, at least communicate what you're doing and then reducing the weight of your wine bottles. So those are my 2 key points. I hope you have a wonderful conference, and thanks again for inviting me. And please remember, building a luxury brand takes passion, patience, and now sustainability.